Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into some seriously fascinating psychology?
Oh, yeah, always up for that.
Today, we're going to explore something called the rope.
The rope.
Yeah, it's this technique that con artists use to, well, to manipulate people.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does that work?
Well, it's not about like physical force or anything like that.
Ah,
Think of it more as a psychological trap.
I see.
We'll be using excerpts from the audiobook The Confidence Game by Maria Konnikova to help us unpack how this all works.
Okay, sounds like a good one.
Yeah, she really gets into the nitty-gritty of how these con artists, how they manage to like influence perception, trust, and desire.
Right, because they lead people down a path they never thought they'd take, right?
Exactly. Like,
Mm.
how do they get people to like hand over their life savings
No.
or believe the most outlandish stories?
Very.
Yeah, it's wild. One of the first things Konnikova points out is the role of authority. You know,
Hmm.
we're basically wired to trust authority figures,
Hmm.
which kind of makes us vulnerable to those who can fake it,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. I mean, our brains are kind of lazy, so we take shortcuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, go. Yeah.
Instead of questioning everything, we kind of default to, well, they seem important, so they must be right.
Right. Right.
Artists, they know this, and boy, do they exploit it
Yeah.
masterfully.
Yeah. It's like that whole fake it till you make it thing, but with way higher stakes.
Oh, yeah, way higher.
Konnikova talks about this con artist, Matthew Brown,
Okay.
and he pretended to be a lord.
Wow.
He racked up all these like crazy bills just by acting the part.
Just like that, huh?
It's almost comical how easily people bought it.
It is kind of funny.
Yeah.
In a dark way, of course.
Yeah.
But, it shows how powerful even just the illusion of authority can be.
Right. Right.
Think about it in terms of the 5 bases of social power, okay?
Okay.
There's reward power, coercive, legitimate, referent, and expert power.
Gotcha.
Con artists, they tend to focus on reward, legitimate, and referent power.
Okay. Break that down for me.
Sure.
I get reward, like offering something desirable, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Coercive is using threats, which obviously wouldn't work for a con artist.
Not really their style.
No.
No.
Legitimate is about titles and positions, like Brown pretending to be a lord.
Exactly. That's a perfect example.
But what about referent and expert?
Okay, so referent power is about wanting to be like someone,
Yeah.
con artists, they create this sense of like shared identity with the victim,
Okay.
making them feel like they're like in on a secret together.
Gotcha.
Almost like they're becoming part of an exclusive club,
So it's less about I want what they have.
Right.
It's more I want to be them.
Exactly, you got it.
Okay.
And then expert power, well, that's pretty self-explanatory, right?
Yeah.
It's about having like specialized knowledge.
Mm.
Now, con artists might pretend to have this, but their real skill is in using these other forms of power to make you believe they're an expert.
So it's all about creating that illusion of expertise.
Exactly.
This brings up a really interesting question for our listener.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Have you ever been in a situation where you felt swayed by someone's title or position?
Hmm.
Did you question their authority at all, or did you automatically give them the benefit of the doubt?
That's a good question to ask yourself.
Yeah, it's worth thinking about.
Definitely. And, it's not just about avoiding scams or anything.
Right.
This applies to like so many areas of life,
Yeah,
work, relationships,
Yeah.
even like making everyday decisions.
absolutely. Okay, now let's move on to this idea of framing, which Konnikova describes as, the art of presenting information in a way that influences choices.
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah,
Con artists, they are masters of what we call decision architecture.
decision architecture.
Yeah, they design the situation to subtly nudge you towards a decision that benefits them, even if it's not in your best interest.
It's kind of like setting up like a psychological maze
Yeah, I like that.
where all paths lead to the same destination, even if you think you're choosing freely.
That's a great analogy.
Konnikova mentions this fascinating experiment
Oh, yeah, tell me about it.
by a guy named J. Edward Russo,
Okay.
and it illustrates this perfectly.
Okay.
Okay, so Russo, he presented people with like descriptions of 2 restaurants.
2 restaurants, okay.
The information was identical for both,
Okay.
but he just changed the order of the attributes.
Interesting.
And guess what?
Mm.
When the best features of the inferior restaurant were listed first,
Uh-huh.
people overwhelmingly chose it.
Really?
even though it wasn't objectively the better option.
Wow. So just by rearranging the information, he
Mhm.
completely changed people's preferences.
That's wild, right?
Yeah, that's kind of scary when you think about it.
It is,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is just one example, right, of how con artists use these decision architecture principles,
It's just the tip of the iceberg.
like order effects, position effects, default effects, and anchor effects.
Yeah, all these sneaky little tricks.
They might highlight the most appealing aspect of a deal first, you know,
Hmm.
to create that positive bias, just like in the restaurant experiment.
Exactly. They're setting the stage to make you more receptive to their pitch.
Okay, so they're basically like setting the stage
Yeah,
to make you more receptive to their pitch.
exactly.
What about those other principles you mentioned? I'm particularly curious about anchor effects.
Oh, yeah. Anchor effects are all about setting a reference point that influences your perception of value.
Okay.
So imagine, right, a
Yeah.
con artist offering you something at like an outrageously high price,
Yeah.
and then boom, they immediately discount it.
Right.
You're going to feel like you're getting a great deal,
Yeah.
even though the price is still, inflated.
Ugh. That classic limited time offer tactic.
Oh, yeah, they love that one.
Create a sense of urgency and scarcity, and people lose all sense of reason.
It's like those infamous Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes.
Oh, yeah.
Promising millions, but subtly pushing magazine subscriptions.
Yeah, so sneaky.
Oh, they're good. They're good. They're masters at making you think you're making a free choice.
Right.
But they've already carefully orchestrated the entire situation.
Wow.
It's like, they're playing chess,
Yeah.
and we're just pawns in their game.
It's a good reminder for our listener to think about times they felt pressured to make a quick decision.
Definitely.
Did you step back and truly evaluate your options?
Yeah.
Or did you get, swept up in the moment?
It's easy to do.
Understanding how framing works
Mm-hmm.
can help you become a more discerning decision maker.
Absolutely.
Not just in avoiding cons, but in all aspects of life, really.
For sure. Welcome back.
So we're continuing our exploration of the rope
Right, that psychological trap.
and how con artists use it to, really manipulate people.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
We're still using Maria Konikova's The Confidence Game as our guide.
Of course, it's a great resource.
We've already we've uncovered how they leverage authority.
Right, like that Matthew Brown guy
Exactly.
pretending to be a lord.
And then there's framing
Mhm.
and our own belief in our exceptionalism, right?
That we're somehow immune to this stuff.
Yeah, like it couldn't happen to us.
Right, classic trap.
They use all of that to set the stage for their cons.
It's all part of the setup.
So now let's get to the heart of it.
Okay, I'm ready.
The tale.
The tale, huh?
This is where the con artist weaves a narrative
Okay.
that's so compelling
Right.
that it makes the scheme seem not only plausible,
Uh-huh.
but almost destined to happen.
Like it was meant to be.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Konnikova, she uses this example of the de la Rentière family,
Okay.
who were these French aristocrats
Mhm.
who got conned out of millions.
Millions. Wow.
Yeah, it's a crazy story.
So what happened?
Well, they were told that they were guardians of some ancient secret.
An ancient secret. Come on, who falls for that?
Right. Sounds ridiculous.
It does.
But I mean, these are sophisticated people.
I know, it's hard to believe.
It is, but that's the power of a well-crafted tale.
So how does it work?
Well, it taps into our deep-seated need for self-affirmation,
Oh, okay.
that desire to, feel important and exceptional.
We all want to feel special.
Exactly.
So the con artists, they're good storytellers.
Oh, they're masters.
They know how to play on our emotions.
They tailor their stories to fit their victims' aspirations.
Right, like giving them a role to play,
Yeah, feeding their egos,
making them feel like they're part of something bigger.
creating a sense of shared destiny.
It's all very calculated.
It is very much so.
So it's not just about the money.
No, it's not.
It's about giving the victim a story
Mm-hmm.
that makes them feel good about themselves.
Exactly, even if it's completely made up.
Wow.
The psychology of self-affirmation. It plays a huge role here.
It makes sense.
We tend to gravitate towards information
Mm-hmm.
that confirms our desired self-image.
We want to believe the best about ourselves.
Right, even if it's illogical
Right.
or contradicts our past experiences.
We can be pretty good at fooling ourselves.
We can.
So how do con artists take advantage of that?
Well, they shower their victims with praise,
Okay.
and validation,
Mm-hmm.
making them feel like they're special.
Right. Like they're the chosen one.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're in the know
Mm-hmm.
part of something exclusive.
It's a powerful technique.
It is. It's very seductive.
Makes you wonder, right?
Like that.
How many times have we been drawn to like something
Yeah.
that promised us the extraordinary? And maybe we ignored a few red flags.
Because we wanted to believe it.
Yeah, because deep down we wanted it to be true.
That hope can be blinding.
It can, for sure.
Think about all those like get rich quick schemes.
Yeah, those are everywhere.
Or those online gurus,
Mm-hmm.
promising instant success.
It's easy to get caught up in the hype.
It is. It's very tempting.
So what can we do about it?
Well, this is where critical thinking comes in.
Okay, so being more skeptical, questioning everything.
Especially when something sounds too good to be true.
Right, because it sounds too good to be true.
It probably is.
Probably is.
So question the source,
Mm-hmm.
look for evidence,
Okay.
and don't be afraid to, ask tough questions.
Push back a little,
Exactly.
even when the con starts to unravel.
Right? Even when the cracks start to show.
It can be really hard to admit we were wrong.
Oh, yeah. Our egos don't like that.
No, they don't.
This is where what Konnikova calls motivated reasoning kicks in.
Motivated reasoning.
It's like a defense mechanism.
So we're trying to protect ourselves
In a way.
from the realization that we were fooled.
Exactly. We don't want to believe that we were duped.
We see this with Paul Frampton.
Who's that?
He's the physicist who fell for the sweetheart con.
Oh, yeah. I remember reading about that.
Even when presented with evidence,
Huh.
he clung to the belief
Mm-hmm.
that he was the victim of a setup.
So he couldn't accept that he had been conned?
He couldn't.
It's amazing how our minds work.
It is.
We twist the facts
Yeah.
to fit our narrative.
Even if it means denying reality.
We create our own version of the truth.
It's like our brains are trying to,
protect us.
protect our egos.
Maintain the illusion that we're not gullible enough to be conned.
Right, like we're too smart for that.
Exactly. It's a form of self-deception.
And this is how motivated reasoning leads to confirmation bias,
Right. We seek out information that supports our beliefs,
even if it's wrong.
and we ignore evidence that contradicts them.
It's a dangerous cycle.
It is. It can keep us trapped in a world of our own making.
It's like that saying, you see what you want to see.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that one.
Even if we're confronted with facts
Hmm.
that challenge our beliefs
We might find ways to dismiss them
or reinterpret them.
to fit our existing narrative.
Exactly.
It's like we're wearing blinders.
And to make things even more complicated,
There's more.
there's hindsight bias,
hindsight bias. Okay.
which is the tendency to believe
Yeah.
after an event
Uh-huh.
that we knew it all along.
Oh, so we rewrite history in our minds.
Yeah, we tell ourselves, I knew it was a scam all along.
Even if we were completely convinced at the time.
Exactly. It's another way of,
Protecting our egos.
yeah,
Maintaining that illusion of control.
right, like we were in charge all along.
But the problem is,
Who does that?
by denying our past mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
we fail to learn from them.
That makes sense.
And that makes us more vulnerable to future manipulation.
So how do we break free from this cycle of self-deception?
Well, it all starts with awareness.
Okay, so recognizing that we have these biases.
Exactly. By understanding how these biases work,
Mm-hmm.
we can start to recognize them in ourselves
Okay.
and challenge our own assumptions.
So it's about developing a mindset of,
Critical thinking,
yeah.
questioning our beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
being open to the possibility
Yeah.
that we might be wrong,
Even when it's uncomfortable.
especially when it's uncomfortable.
So it's about being intellectually honest with ourselves.
Exactly. It's about seeking out diverse perspectives, surrounding ourselves with people who challenge our thinking, help us see things from different angles.
And it's about being willing to learn from our mistakes.
Even if it means admitting we were wrong.
Right. Which can be tough.
It can be, but it's essential for growth.
It's also about remembering that we're all susceptible to manipulation.
Oh, yeah. No one is immune.
No matter how smart or savvy we think we are.
Con artists, they're incredibly skilled
They are.
at reading people, identifying their vulnerabilities, creating situations that play to their desires.
It's like they're always one step ahead
They are masters at weaving illusions.
and exploiting our psychological weaknesses.
So vigilance is key.
Vigilance.
We need to be aware of the tactics.
Okay.
Understand our own biases.
Right.
And be willing to question everything.
Question everything.
Especially when something seems too good to be true.
Because it probably is.
Most likely. Welcome back. Ready for the final part of our deep dive?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Lay it on me.
Oh.
What else do we need to know about the rope?
Well, we've talked about authority, framing, those compelling stories they weave.
Right, the tale.
And how our own minds can work against us, with motivated reasoning and hindsight bias and all that.
Yeah, it's crazy how easily we can fool ourselves, basically.
It is, but there's one final layer of deception we need to talk about.
Okay, I'm all ears.
It's the illusion of choice.
The illusion of choice.
Yeah, that feeling that you're totally in control. When in reality, the con artist is like steering you.
Right, towards a predetermined outcome.
Ah, I see what you mean. It's like those carnival games.
Oh, yeah, perfect example.
You think you have a chance, but the odds are, always stacked against you.
Exactly. Con artists, they're so good at structuring situations to subtly nudge you toward the choice they want you to make.
It's like they're playing chess.
Oh, yeah.
And we're just the pawns,
Totally unaware of the bigger picture.
Completely oblivious.
One technique they use is called disrupt, then reframe.
Disrupt, then reframe.
Yeah, they first disrupt your normal thought process. With something that's confusing or unexpected.
Right, throw you off balance.
Yeah, exactly. And then they quickly reframe the situation to their advantage.
So they, take advantage of that moment of confusion.
Exactly. You're more vulnerable then.
So, for example, they might offer something at, a ridiculous price and then immediately discount it.
Oh, yeah. Classic move.
Make you think you're getting a bargain. Right, even though the price is still inflated.
Sneaky.
They might also throw in a bonus.
A bonus?
Yeah, that seems valuable, but it's actually worthless.
Oh, wow.
Maybe even detrimental.
So it's all about creating that sense of urgency.
But you got to act now.
And scarcity.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss out.
Yeah. Classic FOMO, fear of missing out.
And that plays right into our fear of loss.
Big time. We're way more motivated to avoid losses than to acquire gains.
It's true, yeah.
So we're more likely to, jump at a deal. That seems like we're getting something for nothing.
Right, even if it's not really a good deal in the long run.
Exactly.
Okay, so what other tactics do they use?
Well, there's this one, it's called the even a penny would help approach.
Even a penny?
Yeah, they ask for something so small it seems insignificant,
Oh, right, like it's nothing.
Almost like you're not giving up anything at all.
Okay, so they lower your guard.
Exactly.
And then what?
Well, once you've committed to that small amount, they can gradually increase their demands, you see.
Because you've already said yes.
Exactly, you're already...
It's the classic foot in the door technique.
Yep, that's the one.
And let's not forget about our need to belong.
Oh, yeah, huge factor.
We all want to feel like we're part of something.
Especially something exclusive.
Right, like those secret societies or insider clubs.
Yeah, promising you access to power and privilege.
It's all very tempting.
Oh, yeah, it plays into our desire to feel special, connected to something bigger than ourselves.
And that's where the con artists can really, sink their hooks in, right?
Exactly. They use our own desire for connection against us.
So what can we do? It sounds like we're kind of doomed,
Well, not exactly. I mean, the more you invest in the con, the harder it is to break free.
That makes sense.
It's like you've built a house of cards, and you're terrified of it collapsing.
Right. You don't want to admit that you were wrong.
Exactly. And at that point, the con artist can really, exploit your vulnerabilities.
Oh, no.
Playing on your fear, guilt, shame, all that stuff.
So how do we protect ourselves from, falling into these traps in the first place?
It all starts with awareness, like we talked about before.
Okay, so being aware of the tactics.
Exactly. Recognizing the patterns, acknowledging your vulnerabilities. You can start to see through the illusions.
So be skeptical, question everything.
Especially when it seems too good to be true.
Right. Trust your gut.
If something feels off, it probably is.
Don't be afraid to walk away.
Exactly. And remember, con artists, they're masters of manipulation.
They are, yeah.
They're experts at reading people, exploiting weaknesses,
Yeah, they know how to push our buttons.
So stay vigilant, trust your instincts.
Okay.
And never be afraid to seek a second opinion.
That's great advice. Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has, hasn't it? A little unsettling, maybe.
Yeah, a bit, but knowledge is power, right?
Absolutely. The more you know, the better equipped you are to protect yourself.
Exactly. By understanding the psychology of persuasion. We can all become more discerning, more resilient to manipulation.
And more empowered to make choices that are truly in our best interests.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Just one. How can understanding the techniques of the rope help you become a more critical thinker?
Ooh, that's a good one. Something to ponder, for sure. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of con artists and the psychology of persuasion. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay vigilant.